really cheap, flimsy plastic all the way around. But the problem is you can't just go ahead and cut yourself out and make a nice zero clearance face plate or throat plate, because the clearance here, this is only like about, oh man, it's you know, less than 1/8 of an inch, you know, clearance here. So you can't like pull that off. So what I'm doing is, after getting one of these and then fitting it up, it was so flexible and crappy and everything, I sent it back. I'm putting reinforcements of hardwood in here, and I'm going to glue them into place and also extend it down there to where the knife comes through. Anyway, that's it. If this ends up on YouTube, it'll be because I think it might help, you know, the 3 other people in the whole world, you know, that would like to have a solid plate. So I will report back more as we go along. Okay, I'm going to use original JB Weld because it seems to work just great on about anything. I've used the wood product on some guitar works and stuff, and it's fine, but this original JB works great. And then this Beacon 527 I'm going to use to glue the hardwood pieces down to the plastic on this throat plate. And I have I filled in all the little spots, you know, between the plastic there. Okay, here we are after the JB Weld is set up. I put all those little chunks of wood in between those groove things like that, see? And then I made a little small piece of plywood here to go across. The solid chunks of wood are in here that I'm going to rip my zero clearance curve through. And I also, at the end there where the I cut some of these kind of pieces out of some really good Baltic birch. This one wasn't so good, but I picked one, you know, that didn't have any kind of woods or nothing in it. And so that's at the end there. Where the weak link is when you put that thing in the factory plastic jobby, that you split that open and it's just as floppy as fish out of water. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. I'm going to clamp this up, and then I'll be putting it in. So if you guys get to watch this, it's because, hey, it actually worked and it got nice and stiff. So, okay. Okay, so do you think I did a little overkill here on clamping that piece of wood to the back of that throat plate? Anyway, it's set there. This should be glued on, and like I said, if you're actually watching this, then it actually worked. Okay, that's it for this little dealie. Okay, there it is. Had to sand off a little bit from the back here. You know, just to taper that down a little so that it fits in there flush. And now we're going to cut that zero clearance kerf in there with the 7 1/4 inch saw blade. You're going to have to put in a 7 1/4 inch saw blade on this particular saw to get that blade to be lower so you can raise it up. And then I'll put on the 8-inch one and finish it all off. So anyway, here we go. Let's see how this works out. Well, okay, the moment of truth. Now, this particular throat plate that they designed with the cheap thin plastic, this thing is really thick now. It does not have the little spring screw that goes in the back here, you know, on the metal stock plates or the dado plates that are really nice. But it has 4 screws that screw in directly to hold everything down, and then also these height adjustment screws to get this height like that. So the wood that I put in the back there to fill in where that worthless riving knife goes is a real nice piece of you know, the Baltic birch plywood, and I had to cut it down just a little thinner, almost just one piece of the veneer off of there to get it to where that's nice and flush. So here we go. Let's see how this is going to go. So I'm going to flip this baby on. I'm going to turn my little vacuum cleaner on back here and plug it into my thing, and let's see how this works. All right, you ready? A moment of prayer. Okay, that's as far as she goes. Looked like it went really through really nicely. Also on the plastic, cutting the plastic, I got I think it's a 40 tooth, there might even be a 60 tooth DeWalt 7¼ inch blade, which you can use on this saw just fine, and also on your regular circular saw. Anyway, so far this is looking pretty good. So now I'm going to change out, put in the 8-inch blade, and go ahead and finish cutting her up. All right. Okay, learning a whole lot more now. Put the 8-inch, 1/8-inch wide dado blade in there. Put this thing down on top of it. Screwed the 2 screws down here, and then raised it up just a little bit, and then hit it saw on, saw off, and that put a little gouge in the bottom. And then when I put my 8¼ inch in there, it was still too high, but I was able to go ahead and screw these 2 screws in here to hold the plate. And you want to make sure that thing's held on there, because when that saw blade grips it, it'll throw this thing off. So don't be standing behind there if you don't have that thing anchored down, because it'll come out, and if it gets you in the nards, it's really going to hurt, or get you anywhere, it's going to hurt. So anyhow, so I did that, and then now I've got the 8¼ inch blade in there, and we're just going to see how it goes after I screw this plate down here on these 2, and those back all down nice and tight. So anyway, boy, this is a lot of messing around for a whole lot of little results. If I'd have known this was going to happen, I would have bought the DeWalt. But I just love this cotton picking. I love the fence on this thing, this rack and pinion fence. It's so straight and accurate. And so anyway, for me, this is what I got going on now, and it looks like it's going to work out. So here we go, some more. Okay, here we go with the 8¼ inch Diablo blade. Raising it up, cutting the final curve. Hope this all works. If you're seeing this, it actually all turned out pretty good. Okay, looks like it came through okie dokie. The problem with the first stupid thing is that it cuts through their brace right here to go back to the worthless riving knife that's comes with this thing. So anyhow, there it is, and I'm going to take this off and we'll see if it's going to work. All right. Okay, got a really nice cut on the plastic for the zero clearance, and like I said, the weak link was this thing being so flimsy, floppy with the cheap plastic that Skill decided to make and sell these, but 14 bucks. Back here is where they had a little deal, and all this was open. They had kind of a cross thing, a little piece of plastic there, and of course your 8 1/4 inch saw is going to cut clear through that, or a 10 inch if you buy the 10 inch throat plate. And that makes all of this just as floppy as can be, like a fish out of water. It really sucks. The riving knife kind of sucks too on this, and I'm not a big fan of the riving knives. Just be careful. We didn't have them back in 1965, you know, when I did wood shop. But at any rate, because if you've got if I put an 1/8 inch blade on here and my riving knife is, you know, fitting what comes with this saw, it's going to bind up. If it's smaller, it's just going to lose its effectiveness. So, you know, just be safe. Unplug your saw every time your hand's down around the blades. Just use some common sense and hang on to all your digits. Also, if you've never used these guys, these are the grippers. This is the safest, coolest invention anybody ever invented. You need to get a couple of them because you can, well, just watch the videos on them. So what I'm going to do now is I've got this piece of oak plywood that I made, you know, tables and stuff out of for my shop. And you can see here where it tore out big time, you know, with the regular throat plate on it. And I'm going to now trim this piece off, and we'll see if that's any better. Okay, you're getting to know more than you ever wanted to know with this video. Okay, the zero clearance, a whole lot less. Still a little bit of tear out, and might be some of this plywood because it's got the oak veneer part on it is about as thin as your thinnest fingernail. But at any rate, big difference between it and the regular throat plate. Okay, just my final thoughts. I love this saw. It's a nice, well-made seems to be. Whether it holds up over time, who knows? But it'll probably hold up just fine for me since I'm just a garage, you know, hobby guy. I wouldn't buy it again if I knew what I know now about this zero clearance throat plate business. That just totally sucks. So I would probably buy a DeWalt or something else, you know, that has a nice fence, which is what sold me on this saw. Plus it's nice and compact, it's light, everything. They've designed this thing really well, but they need to do something about that, because if I'd have known this, I would not have bought this saw. So that's it. Okay.